All right, thank you guys. The Brewers take on the Diamondbacks, 3:40 p.m. Eastern start time in the desert. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 230 with the total at 7.5 runs. Arizona's plus 195 for some money line cash. And if you like them on the run line, they're plus $1.20 catching the 1.5. Caleb Smith for the Diamondbacks, Brandon Woodruff for Milwaukee. And we're 3-1 in our last 4 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here this evening on that very Patreon page. We still have over 1,100 members who are currently signed up and active on that site. And if you want to see which one of these free picks I'm actually betting on personally, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, the first place Brewers have won 3 out of their last 4 ball games. And they currently lead the majors in striking batters out. Milwaukee's fanning over 10.2 batters a game. They also have Brandon Woodruff on the bump here this afternoon. He struck out 102 batters on the year and has a 1.94 ERA. Now, the righties also 5-3 on the season with a .76 whip. The Brewers are in the top 3 in fewest hits allowed on the road. They're giving up just 3.6 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on an Arizona club who has the worst record in Major League Baseball. They're 33 games below 500, and they rank dead last in runs allowed per contest. The Diamondbacks are also giving up double-digit hits per game at Chase Field. When it comes to the total on this one, the Diamondbacks went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games. They're also 23-12 to the over on their home field. Meanwhile, the Brewers saw 3 out of their last 6 road games get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 in the over 7.5 runs. Next matchup, Giants versus the Angels, 407 East. San Francisco's minus $1.15, numbers 8. Kevin Gausman for San Francisco, Shohei Ohtani for Los Angeles. And as good as Ohtani's been, the Angels have dropped 5 out of their last 8 ball games, with one of those losses being a 5-0 shutout to San Francisco. Now, the Angels are in the bottom 10 in runs allowed, bottom 10 in hits allowed. They also have a losing record overall for the season at 1 game below 500. Now, they're taking on a first-place Giants club who went 7-1 straight up in their last 8 ball games. The Giants lead the majors in fewest walks allowed per contest. They're also giving up just 3.4 runs a game when they travel. Kevin Gausman's been awesome this year. 8-1 record with a 151 ERA. The righty struck out 103 batters and currently has a .77 whip. Now, total-wise, 3 out of San Francisco's last 6 road games against the National League got over the line. Meanwhile, the Angels are 80% to the over in their last 10 themselves. 26-13 to the over on their home field. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants minus 115 in the over 8 runs. Next ball game, Rockies versus the Mariners, 4:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. Both teams are minus $1.10 with the total at 8.5 flat. German Marquez for the Rockies, Justice Sheffield for Seattle. Now, Seattle's been red hot here lately, 5-game winning streak. 8-1 straight up in their last 9. The Mariners are also playing their best baseball on their home field. Seattle's 24-15 at T-Mobile Park, and they're allowing just 3.9 runs a game there. Now, Seattle's taking on a Colorado team who has the fewest road wins in all of baseball. Colorado's a despicable 5-28 straight up when they travel, and they've cashed in on the run line only 30% of those ball games. Now, this Rockies lineup is dead last in the league in road hits. They're also scoring just 2.5 runs a game when they travel. When it comes to the total on this one, 7 out of Colorado's last 9 interleague contests stayed under the number. They're also 19-14 to the under on the road. Meanwhile, the Mariners have gone 24-15 to the under as the home team. I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners minus $1.10 in the under 8.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Astros versus the Orioles, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. Houston's minus 190, totals 10. Jose Urquidy for Houston, Thomas Eshelman for Baltimore. The last place Orioles have the fewest wins in the American League right now. They're already 27 games below 500 for the year, and they're dead last in runs allowed per game at home. Now the O's have gotten the W in just 12 out of 37 ball games at Camden Yards. They're taking on a first-place Houston club who leads the majors in runs and hits. Michael Brantley is batting .353, which is first in the majors in that category. The outfielder also has an OPS of .924, which is also in the top 15 in the league. Jose Altuve, he's hit 16 home runs and ranks in the top 25 in the league in batting average, home runs, and OPS. Houston's won 3 out of their last 4 road games, 9-1 straight up in their last 10 at any location. This Houston pitching staff is in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed. They're giving up only 3.9 runs a game. Now, Jose Urquidy's 5-3 on the season with a .365 ERA and a 1.00 WHIP. When it comes to the total on this one, Houston went 70% to the over in their last 10 ball games. Baltimore's 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus $1.90 in the over 10 runs. Next matchup, it is going to be Royals versus the Yankees, 7:05 East. The New York Yankees are minus 175, totals 10. Michael King for New York, Danny Duffy for Kansas City. Now Duffy's 4-3 on the year with a 1.94 ERA. The lefty's also got a whip of just 1.13. The Royals have won 3 out of their last 4 ball games, top 10 in fewest hits allowed on the road. This Royals pitching staff is also averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts a game when they travel. They're taking on a Yankees club who's in the bottom 10 in the league in scoring on average per game. This New York lineup averages only 3.8 runs a game at Yankee Stadium. And if you want to get any kind of, value on the sides in this one, especially if you're leaning toward the Yankees, just keep in mind that New York is covering just 30% of their ball games at home. That's with regard to the run line. Now, they also have Michael King on the bump here tonight, who has yet to win a ball game this year. The righty's 0-3 with a 4.08 ERA and a 1.39 WHIP. When it comes to the total on this one, New York's 22-15 to the under in the Bronx. Kansas City's 20-14 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals plus 1.5 and the under 10 runs. Next game, Blue Jays versus the Marlins, 7:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Toronto Blue Jays are minus $1.25, total 7.5. Robbie Ray for Toronto, Trevor Rogers for Miami. Despite the Marlins' struggles here recently, they still have a winning record on their home field. They also have Trevor Rogers on the bump here this evening. He's 7-3 with a 1.87 ERA and a 1.02 WHIP. The lefties also struck out 95 batters in just over 81 innings. The Marlins are in the top 5 in fewest hits allowed per game at home. They're giving up just 3.2 runs a game at Lone Depot Park. Miami's taking on a Toronto club who lost 5 out of their last 8 themselves. The Blue Jays also have a losing record this season when favored. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the underdog Miami Marlins plus 105 in the over 7.5. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be, Braves versus the Mets, 7:10 East. The New York Mets are minus $1.25, totals 9, juice to the under. Tyler McGill for the Mets, Kyle Wright for Atlanta. Now, Wright's only thrown a little over 4 innings thus far in the year, 4.15 ERA thus far, and a couple of walks. The Braves are also in the top 10 in striking batters out on the road. And they also find themselves walking nearly 4 batters a game when they travel. Now, they're taking on a first-place Mets club who's in the same division, that NL East. They're taking on a first-place Mets club who's pretty tough to beat in Flushing, Queens. They're 21-9 straight up at Citi Field, and they lead the majors in fewest hits allowed at home. As a matter of fact, New York's giving up just 2.1 runs a game as the home team. They're also 4 games ahead of the Braves in the NL East standings. Now, total-wise, New York went 70% to the under in their last 10 ball games, 23-7 to the under as the home team. Meanwhile, Atlanta's gone 13-6 to the under in their divisional games on the road. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the New York Mets minus $1.25 and the under 9 runs. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Red Sox versus the Rays, 7:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Tampa Bay Rays are minus 145, totals 9. Rich Hill for Tampa, Garrett Richards for Boston. Now, Richards has 4 wins on the season along with 64 strikeouts. Boston also has the most road wins in the major leagues. They're 24-12 straight up when traveling. And even better than that, the Sox have gone an impressive 12-2 straight up in their divisional road games as well. Boston is in the top 3 in road scoring, top 3 in road hits. Xander Bogaerts is in the top 10 in the league in both batting average and OPS. He's currently hitting .323 with an OPS of .936. Meanwhile, Rafael Devers is leading the majors in RBI. The third baseman has knocked in 60 runners already and has smacked 18 balls out of the park. They're taking on a Tampa club who is currently on a 7-game losing streak, playing some really bad baseball right now, and they gave up nearly 7 runs a game on average during that stretch. Now, this Rays lineup they strike out more than any other team in the majors. They're fanning over 10.5 times a game at the Trop, and they're also in the bottom 10 in home scoring. Now, total-wise, Tampa's gone 7-6 to the under in their divisional games at home. Meanwhile, the Bo Sox are 19-17 to the under when they travel. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Boston Red Sox plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be A's versus the Rangers, 8:05 East. The A's are minus 145, numbers 9.5, excuse me. James Caprillion for the Athletics, Mike Fultonavich for Texas. Now, Fulty's just 1-7 on the year, 5.59 ERA, 1.43 WHIP. The last place Rangers are currently 19 games out of first place, and they find themselves 21 games below 500. Now, Texas has lost 7 out of their last 8 ball games, and they score only 3.8 runs a game on their home field. They're taking on an Oakland club who has won 7 out of their last 10 themselves, and they also have a really good road record. They're 20-12 straight up when they travel, and they're 15 games over 500 for the entire season. This Oakland pitching staff is in the top 5 in fewest walks allowed on the road. They're also giving up just 3.9 runs a game when they travel. James Caprillion is 4-1 with a 2.84 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP. When it comes to the total in this one, Oakland's 18-14 to the under when they bat first. Texas is 21-15 to the under at Globe Life Field. I'm going to lean toward the Oakland A's minus 145 and the under 9.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Dodgers versus the Padres, 10:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The San Diego Padres are minus $1.20, total 7.5. Joe Musgrove for San Diego, Trevor Bauer for Los Angeles. Now, Bauer's 7-5 with a 2.45 ERA and a .94 WHIP. The hard-throwing righty has also struck out 119 batters in just over 95 innings of work. LA's won 6 out of their last 9 ball games, and they lead the majors in fewest hits allowed on the road. This Dodger pitching staff is holding their opponents to less than 6.8 hits a game as the road team. They're taking on a Padres club who's in the bottom half of the league in hits on average per contest. They're also in the bottom half of the league in home scoring as well. And as good as Joe Musgrove's looked this season, he still comes into today's contest with a losing record at 4-6. Now, total-wise, 4 out of San Diego's last 6 home games got over the line, 70% to the over in their last 10 outings as well. Meanwhile, the Dodgers saw 3 out of their last 5 road games get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog LA Dodgers plus 105 and the over 7.5 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Milwaukee minus 1.5, over 7.5. San Francisco minus $1.15, over 8 runs. I like Seattle minus $1.10, under 8.5. Houston minus 190, over 10 runs. I'm leaning toward Kansas City plus 1.5 under 10 runs. I also like Miami plus 105 over 7.5. New York Mets minus $1.25 under 9 runs. Boston plus 1.5 under 9. I'm leaning toward Oakland minus 145 under 9.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-1 in our last 4 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. And the link for that pick is in the description section below. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers plus 1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.